that on the radio?
Who is that on the radio?
Who is that on the radio?
You really want to know who's on the radio? Come on. Let's talk about it.
Jeffery. Let's talk about it live with Jeffrey L. Miller. Watching is the best decision you'll ever make.
Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Call or text in live. 470-251-4647. Hashtag Let's Talk with Jeffrey.
And come check us out on www.StatusNetwork.net.
Or download the Status Network app on your Apple or Google Play Store.
Let's give them something to talk about.
It's almost showtime, people. Let's tune in to see what Jeffrey has in store for us tonight. And here's your host, Jeffrey L. Miller.
What is going on, Facebook family? What's going on, Instagram family? What's going on, Status Network and Manifest TV family? It's time for Let's Talk About It Live with Jeffrey L. Miller. Every Thursday from 6 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. This is exactly how we do it. Now, y'all know I like to have fun when we have these shows, but today we're going to get a little serious. We're still going to have some fun, but we're going to get a little serious today. I have two amazing guests with me today, both well-informed, well-spoken, intelligent, outstanding individuals. I'd like to welcome to the show, Let's Talk About It Live with Jeffrey L. Miller, Febury Hassan.
Hey.
I pronounced it correctly?
You got it all right.
I've been practicing in my mind. All right, Antonio Alacena.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, good. Now listen. First of all, the phone number is 470-251-4647. 470-251-4647. Make sure you give us a call or hit us up on Facebook, and we'll read your quote or your question right here and answer it on air. Now, I got a question, first of all, for these two experts. They are two experts, by the way. I'd like to know, first of all, Febury, tell us about your credentials. What makes you the expert in your field?
First of all, I always tell people I don't consider myself an expert. I think I have a level of expertise.
Okay.
But I'm a relationship and personal development coach because I believe that every relationship you're having is ultimately a reflection of the one you're having with yourself. And I utilize relationships as barometers to help you gauge and understand your belief system. So you tell me about your relationships, I'll tell you about your beliefs. And with that, if you want to change your relationships, you have to change your beliefs. That's what I'm good at.
Love it.
And I'm also an author of Would You Marry You? So
we're going to talk about the book now. Okay. All right, Brother Antonio.
Yeah.
Tell us about you. What makes you the expert in your field?
It almost like she stole my first part. I don't consider myself an expert either. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I don't really know if I like using that word, but it's okay.
Okay.
Results are show how much of an expert I am. You know.
Results.
But I'm a certified life coach.
Okay.
Life Purpose Institute out of San Diego is where I got my certification.
Good deal.
I'm a sex, dating, and relationship specialist. A specialist. That's right.
We're going to talk about all this stuff now. We're going to talk about it.
I actually style myself as the Galileo of relationships and dating.
The Galileo of relationships and dating.
Like everybody else is doing it wrong, you know, I kind of know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm digging that.
Galileo was saying the world was round, and I was saying it was flat. So.
Okay, now you got some people saying the world is flat right now. We're under a dome.
Man, we ain't gonna get to that.
Okay, I'm just checking. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome to the show, both of you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here, and we appreciate it.
No question.
But now, I want everybody to understand, the weather was a hot one today. My car said 108 when I got in it this afternoon. Traffic was bad as hell coming down here to this studio. I got here after one of my guests did, which I absolutely hate to do. And the chicken shack took forever with my chicken. All that stuff aside, you know what time it is. It's time for you to close your mouth and listen. You ask me some questions, I give you some answers from a man's point of view. Now, I got one reason for the habitually single woman and one reason for the habitually single man as to why you might be single. But before we get into that, here is my disclaimer. Now, see, what I'm going to talk about may not apply to you. If it doesn't apply to you, I don't want you to put your foot up in this shoe. But if it does apply to you, I want you to put both feet in both shoes and walk around in them because you're about to learn something tonight. Ladies, you go first. I want y'all to know that I love y'all. But some of y'all ladies are single simply because you are the new house Negro. I need you to understand what I'm saying. Ladies, some of you are the new house Negro. Think about the role of the house Negro. The house Negro was real close to the slave master. The house Negro was almost wealthy in comparison to the actual community there at that time. The house Negro got it good and didn't think things were that bad. And oftentimes, it was the house Negro that would abandon the field Negro. Now, ladies, I don't say this lightly. And this is not to cast aspersions on every woman out there of color. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying some of you, though, are the new house Negro. And you approach a man that actually is a good, upstanding man that might be a rung or two below you. Now, I mean economically, financially, not mentally, not about the spirit of trying to make something happen for himself, just a rung or two below you, and you look down your nose at him. You feel like he's a little less or something because he still lives out in the field. You live in Buckhead. Don't get it twisted, ladies. I don't care where you go, how successful you get. There is no true progress for you until there's progress in our community as a whole. So you keep on being the new house Negro, and we just gonna leave your ass single. Febury,
Yes.
what do you think?
Well, I was like, oh my.
Woo, y'all thought I came to play. I didn't come to play
No,
today.
you didn't.
What do you think? I'm waiting on your feedback, Febury.
Okay, so exactly what you asked me what I think about what you just said.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to say there's levels of validity to it. I'm not going to completely discount everything that you said, but to say that a woman will discount a man that is a level or two below her. First of all, let's map something around below her.
Yes.
Okay, so to make that analogy, who's saying that one, he's below her? You're saying she's saying that he's
She's
below
saying
her?
that.
Okay, so she's saying financially he's below her.
Or whatever category she puts together, but she looks down her nose at that man who she perceives as being beneath her.
Okay, I'm going to say this. If I wanted to be where you are, I would not have ascended my levels of consciousness, my levels of understanding to get where I am. So it is not so much that I am looking at you as though you are less than. The bottom line is if I still wanted to be there, I would not have matched my consciousness, my vibration to get where I am. So my thing is now, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do? But again, if you wanted to be where I am, I do believe that you have the same resources spiritually, emotionally, intellectually to do so.
I love it.
So
I love it.
again, it's not so much that I'm looking down my nose at you, but if I wanted to be there, I would still be there. I don't want to be there. And I don't want a partner that has not ascended himself to the levels that he is not there.
Okay. Hold that thought. We're going to come back to that because I love it. Brother Antonio, what do you think?
Let me say this. That sounds real good. However, culturally, as black people, men and women, this society has given black women a leg up.
Given, okay.
And yes, given. This society has given. And in fact, we can, if we want to go into history, and I mean, we can do all of that. However,
We ain't got that kind of time.
you know, right?
Keep it pithy.
But there's a thing where this culture, this system, gives the black woman doors and opens some of them that the black man will never get, because the job is to destroy the black man, and so in order to do that, he has to go through the black woman. But when you think you have done it all on your own, there comes this thing where you start looking at him like, dude, you need to do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't see the hand that's holding him down, and you don't even feel the hand that's holding you up because you think you did it. Now, we need to be definitely come together as a group. I
Yes.
mean, you know, as two people. But no, there is a definitely an aspect of that particular thinking among our
May
women.
I interject for a moment?
No, not yet. We got to get to the men. And then we're going to crank it back up. We're going to
All
crank
right.
that soldier
Not a
black.
problem.
Okay,
I love it. I love it. But fellas, don't think I'm letting you off the hook.
that's right.
Fellas, you are next. Fellas, quite frankly, some of you are still single because you still got a slave mentality in your head. Nobody has got you shackled at all, but you have shackled yourself. by accepting inferiority in your spirit. Right now, you will buy into some negative post on Facebook more than you will get out and actually do something. You'll post hellified on Facebook, but you won't do nothing. You'll talk about an article and how women ain't this and women ain't that, but you won't do nothing. You'll say, we got to do something about this. Instead of you doing something about this, you will see a problem and talk about the problem and bring no solution to the table. I will submit to you, men, that the minute we completely unshackle our minds from the slave mentality, the mentality that has us thinking that we are inferior, has us acting inferior, has us accepting the back of the bus type of mentality. The minute we shred that, I want you to watch what happens to our women. They will look at us differently because they'll see something worth cleaving to, worth partnering with, worth moving forward with. They won't be able to see you on a lower rung because it won't be no rung. It'll be the construction and the tower that you build within yourself. But right now, you still waiting on the next Jordans to come out or the PlayStation, Xbox 1995,000 version, whatever it is.
Right.
Instead of doing the work to be the full-grown man on the inside. And these sisters out here getting educated, getting all this money, looking at you and leaving your ass single. Brother Antonio.
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
This is the thing when it comes to us as men. There's a degree of high level, degree of self-hate, and it is reflected in our treatment of our women. You dig what I'm saying? More so than anything else.
Absolutely.
Because even whatever is going on with women, whatever is going on with the system, all of these things, we have to take responsibility to say, okay, that's going on. How do I now solve this issue? You know, but there's such a degree of self-hate that we look at, I mean, it reflects in how we treat our women, and we just get stagnant.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And then we start making excuses about, you know, there are so many things, but we start making excuses about how we, or what we shouldn't do. You know, there are things about, you know, well, if I'm going to pay the bill,
half the date,
and all this, and or why should I plan a date? We ought to be like, it gets crazy.
It does.
You know what I'm saying? But to me, it's rooted in actually self-hate, even though we may not even see that, but that's what it's rooted in.
I'll take that. Yeah. Febury, what do you think?
I definitely, actually, I agree with both of you in what you were saying. And again, when I said about us raising our vibration, when I said I wanted to be there with you, and I think it's incumbent upon black men to start looking at what can I do?
Absolutely.
How can I raise my vibration? I do not believe I would say this, I believe I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. That's
Absolutely.
my personal belief.
Yes.
So with that belief, I look at men who feel the same way. So that if you are a spiritual being having a human experience, you have a lot more control over your experience than you are saying that you do. The truth of your reality is that when you ascend your consciousness and do more for yourself on that level, you could rise above many things. There are people who make millions during depressions.
Sure.
Because they believe that they can. My biggest issue is that I don't believe black men understand and believe how powerful they are and that they truly can do it. And until they get that part, there's nothing else. Like I said, we can talk about the doors that's been open, we can talk about the politics, we can talk about that, but there's nothing that can stop a man that has made up his mind that nothing's going to stop him.
I love it. Now, y'all thought I was playing today. You thought I was just talking. You thought this was puffery. I was prone to hyperbole. No, I told you that today, I love all my guests. I've had some excellent guests on this show. Today, it's about to be serious. This is going to be a serious, grown-up conversation. We might not agree, but we're going to work towards a solution. 470-251-4647. So let's get into it. Last week, I read an article, and the article said, can black women can no longer afford to save broken black men. It said black women can no longer afford to save broken black men. When I read the article, I got to have somebody on the show to talk about this. Now, I want you to understand that Febury and myself have only exchanged Facebook conversation. I went to her DM. Hey, shout out. Look at him. I didn't say it like that. Come on now. But I reached out to her and asked her if she would come on the show. And she said, I would be happy to. And I said one thing. I said, now, I said something, I can't remember how I phrased it, but her response was, I'm not about ego. I can have a conversation without my ego being all caught up. I'm like, you know what? That was nothing but God and the Spirit and the universe directed me to Febury to have her on this show. And I know, Brother Antonio, from college days, we ain't gonna say how long ago that was, that we were in college. It's been quite a couple of decades, but still, you know, we look good for our ages. How about that? Oh!
Amen.
So,
No question.
Febury, I want to ask, how'd you feel about that article?
I read it.
How'd you feel about it?
And I agreed.
Tell me what you agreed about.
I agreed with the article in and of itself that as Black women, again, it is not for us to do that. We are killing ourselves because, let's just be honest, I really focus a lot on feminine and masculine energy.
Sure.
And in order for us as women to even attempt to or to continue to raise up or try to heal broken men, we are utilizing a lot of masculine energy to do that. And in doing that, we are killing ourselves because more women using masculine energy, it takes away from our life force, our life source.
Okay.
And when we do that, that's being aggressive, that's being the provider, that's being the coach. I mean, we're doing all those things that are associated with masculine energy.
So let me ask, because this is interesting. You said that you were using masculine energy to be the provider and things like that. I would submit that maybe instead of being a helper, you're being more of an enabler if you're doing all those things.
I agree with you.
Okay, so that could be the dichotomy. We're going to come back to that. Brother Antonio, what do you think about the article?
Yeah, no. I actually thought that she was very misguided.
Okay.
And
in the article?
In the article.
Yes.
Well, because she gave examples of times when Black men did something wrong or devastating to a Black woman.
Sure.
And I mean, you know, those were bad things, but those aren't the things I think that should be the face of Black men. You know what I'm saying? The face of being broken and so forth. And as far as they're a Black woman or Black women not assisting us any longer. The thing is, it's like I was saying earlier, it comes down to what is your function and what is your purpose.
Okay.
As a woman, what is your function? Your function is not to have this production of masculine energy. However, your function is to assist me. But you have to have something to assist.
Sure.
You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
But the thing is, as far as this man being broken, if you're going to heal, if Black people are going to heal, I know this is going to sound like whatever, but it's actually going to start with Black women.
So let me jump back in right here, because I can understand why Febury would say what she said. I coach women. I coach men and women, but some of the women that have come to me have damage from early on. I'll never forget this. One young lady that I was talking to, a good friend of mine, said that I can't possibly conceive walking to junior high school and grown men pushing up on you. You can't conceive that, Jeffrey. And she's absolutely right. I cannot conceive the trauma and the damage that did to her. And these weren't grown Hispanic men or grown white men. These were men that were old enough to know better and conduct themselves better, who clearly knew that she was in junior high school. And her response was, she never told anybody because it happened just about every day from a different man. That's a reality. So, and I'll ask this question to you, Brother Antonio. Then what responsibility do we owe to Black women to cut that type of stuff out?
Oh, no. I mean, that women, Black women in particular, they have to deal with especially when it comes to men and what we do to them.
Sure.
Especially having advances like you just talked about, at least since the age of about 10. They have to learn how to navigate, negotiate all of these things when it comes to us, all our negative approaches and so forth and so on.
Right.
I get all of that.
Sure.
Our job, if we were to take it, if we were to do what we're supposed to do, which is very basic and it's very basic nature of men, which is first to protect.
Sure.
Okay.
Agreed.
But if you have a man who is already destroyed and full of self-hate, it's going to reflect in how he treats his women. You dig?
Fair enough.
Our women are
Fair
being
enough.
treated a certain way because we have a particular mind that is steeped in self-hate, and it's like we can't necessarily think that this is just going to heal out of the blue.
Okay.
There's a process that we have to take that's going to actually make this happen. And as I stated at the end of my last thing was, it's actually going to start with women.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, Febury, when it comes to what we're talking about right now, what is the impact on the community from your perspective if more women undertook that mind frame that we can't afford to love on or to save or help any broken black men? What do you think the impact's going to be on the community?
And I agree with you. I'm saying it is our responsibility, in my opinion, to assist you. But again, as they say, I have to put the mask on myself first.
Okay.
And because of much of the damage that has been done by black women, from black men in the black community, 1 in 4 girls being molested, how she's grown up broken and has not been protected. Now you want me to turn around and protect and assist you, the very person who has perpetrated all these evils upon me, and to give you what? Right now we have to, for lack of a better verbiage, take care of ourselves before we can even begin to think about looking back at you at this point. Because so much damage has been done. And it's kind of like I remember Minister Farrakhan said, you go to your people and tell them what to do. We don't need you. So it's kind of like I'm saying to black men, you go get with black men and start working with them and assisting them and talking to them and patrolling them and telling them to keep, not to rape and how not to rape as compared to telling us how not to be raped and how not to be molested and so on and so forth. You get with men. Men get with men.
Sure.
Okay? And let women go heal with women. And then we can come back together. Let's the feminine, because that's where, as women, that's where I'm going to heal. As a woman, that's the only place I can heal. And I mean this on a spiritual level. I can only heal in that place. I cannot continue to take you on, particularly if you're the one that has broken me and taken advantage of me. I have to go get myself together.
All right, now I love that argument. Excellent point. Counterpoint. If, in fact, in our communities, we have more single-parent household than anything else, more than married couple or anything, and if, in fact, the majority of the people in those single-family households are women, then what level of accountability do those women have for producing some of the very men out there scarring other women?
I'm going to say a lot of accountability. I'm not going to sit here and not hold us accountable. This is not about black men being more accountable, black women being more accountable. I'm not going to say that. But again, we're perpetuating a cycle.
Agreed.
So at some point, someone has to say, stop. Someone has to say freeze. And if I'm saying as a woman, the only person I can look at it in the mirror is me. I can't tell you what to do with you. I can't tell you what. I have to look at me and say, whoa.
Fair enough.
It stops here with me. Let me go get me right.
Fair
And
enough.
that's what I'm saying to black men. Go get you right in the mirror. Let me go get me right in the mirror, okay? And I'm saying that as individuals and as a whole, because it isn't impacting our children. We are raising broken, damaged boys because so it's a
Broken,
vicious
damaged
cycle.
boys, but strong women. That's what we're raising right now.
I don't even know if you want to call the women strong. I'm not calling them strong.
Better prepared women are coming out of the households that are single, led by women. Better prepared women are coming out of those households than better prepared
Better
boys.
prepared to
Be successful, to grow and do things. And the reality of it is, and I don't mean to cut you
Successful
off.
how?
Successful from being self-sufficient and
Okay.
being confident enough to
Self-sufficient.
establish some type of base for themselves.
self-sufficient.
Right, and what happens with young boys, for some reason, they come out still Similac around their mouth because some of the mothers, unfortunately, spoil the boys and strengthen the girls. Now, you brought up an excellent point. We're going to come back to it. Give me 1 second. Brother Antonio, you want to comment?
Yeah. I'm not a believer in this individualism. No one heals by themselves. I know in today's world, we have this, you go to your corner, I go to my corner, and, you do it over there. Now, I don't believe in that. I know that doesn't work.
Why do you think that doesn't work?
Because we're not designed to be an island. We're not designed to be reciprocal. We're designed to complement.
I do mean to interrupt. I
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
want to play advocate here.
Okay.
When you say that we're not designed to be independently successful, I read
That's
statistics.
not what I said.
Well, I'm summarizing what you said
Okay.
because I'm at
That's
the
not what I
essence.
meant either.
Okay. Well, then let me make sure I understand. This is what I took from the conversation. Correct me if I misunderstood. I thought that I heard you say that we were not designed to be individually successful. We're designed to be collectively successful. Did I misunderstand?
I'm saying, well, I didn't say that, although
Yes.
I somewhat believe that. But
Okay.
That's not what I really said.
Okay.
Okay.
So my point is, then I'll go right back to your statement. There are all types of statistical data right now that show that the most educated group in this country, from the entrepreneurial, educational, and rising income, are
Is
black
black women.
women.
Right.
So when you say that the individual, we are designed to be individually successful, and we have this powerful group of black women who are proving that theory, wrong, what do we say to that?
No. If you have the assistance of a system that's going to make that give you or make that possible for you, then that's a different story. There are different aspects that cause that to be.
Double minority.
You got double minority. You have many more things many more doors that black women who don't even see this. They don't see themselves getting those doors. They think they're doing it.
Okay.
So we have a system that is actually allowing and helping them
Okay.
to get to these places. My whole thing is if you the largest in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of college degrees and so forth and so on, well, what is that doing to help your nation? What is that doing to help black people? Not just you as an individual, because like you said earlier, I don't care how far you go up, you're not going nowhere without me. You might say or think you are, you're going to get to a certain point, you're not going nowhere without me.
Excellent
I'm not
point.
going nowhere without you, without you as a black woman. But the problem is that we keep trying to one up each other. You understand what I'm saying?
Fair point.
We keep trying to one up each other. Well, black women and black men don't need to do this. Black men, well, it's like we need to stop that.
Fair point.
You dig? We need to stop
Fair
that.
point. Febury, what do you think?
Okay, so again, you're making the assumption when I said get with yourself. Again, I cannot create for you. Okay, I cannot vibrate on the level that you need for you. So at some point, you have to stop and get with yourself and do the internal work yourself. I can't breathe for you. I can't die for you. I can't do any of those things for you. So when I say that, that's what I mean. I cannot do that for you. So you have to do the internal work yourself. I have to do the internal work myself in order to be better. Bottom line, period. We can get together afterwards or what, but there's a point in time in one's life when no one can cross the bridge with you. You don't take anyone with you. You have to take it alone. You have to go within in your spirit and do what you have to do. You have to do the hard work. You, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, on your own. Now, of course, throughout life, there are people always assisting us. They're dropping little jewels here, telling us things there, giving us a hand here. I always tell people, if you haven't met your moment of need, you just haven't lived long enough.
Fair enough.
There's always someone that has assisted us. But at some point, when it gets to ascending into higher levels of consciousness, and that's truly what I believe we're talking about, you have to stop and do some things by yourself. And to say that black women are constantly having doors open for them, I guess you forget about the sexism, the racism, and all the things that we go through to get to wherever we're attempting to go. We have plenty of hurdles along the way, plenty of doors closed along the way, many of sacrifices that we make along the way to get to wherever it is you all think we're getting. When people talk about where black women are getting, oftentimes they're only talking about the financial. I'm talking about the spiritual and the emotional, which is way more important because we all will get someplace greater
Agreed.
if we get that part together.
Fair enough. Now that you've both made some excellent points, and this is why we're having this conversation right now. I'll submit to you both that there is elements of truth and fact and common ground in everything that you said. Now, I'm not saying you lying or you lying. I'm saying that what you're saying, there's enough common ground for us to be able to put something together. Now, I don't believe that we as men just have to completely divest and be over here and get ourselves together. I believe that men like us have to be at the forefront of helping men who are not on that level. I completely agree with that. At the same time, I have this formula that I call the H2O formula. this is the most common scientific formula in the world, H2O. You got 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen to make water. If you remove 1 part of hydrogen and add it to oxygen, it becomes an unstable element, volatile, explosive. Now that one H stands for him, and that's the men in the community. And the other H stands for her, that's the women in the community. And when both of us work in tandem, the O, which is our offspring, come out stable, well balanced, well nourished, because they're getting the equal parts. Now, I don't mean equal as in men and women are equal. I mean what you're supposed to get from your mother and what you're supposed to get from your father to be balanced. That's what we're missing. And I do believe that there's work women do, there's work men do. At the core, though, we have to work together to stabilize our children, because it ain't gonna be our generation. This is something we're doing for our grandparents, or for our children's children. Our generation, pretty much, we're where we are. We should be planting seeds for the generation after our children now, not for ourselves. And I just feel like, to your point, we're over here trying to one up the women. To your point, women have been doing the work. Where y'all at? And we got some things we got to do to get back to that H2O formula. Thoughts? Anybody?
Yeah, let me say this. It's not I don't like the continuous fighting.
I agree.
However, because we have such misunderstanding, it's just like Sister was saying a few seconds ago when it comes to being on doing what you have to do for yourself. It's like, trust me, I have a life that is reflective of what I've had to do for myself. You dig?
You.
Me. That's my point. Me.
Right.
But I know what stimulates thought. I know what controls it also. So when you're talking about a whole people, there are a lot of dynamics that are involved, and it's just not so simple to say, well, you need to go over there and do you, and you go and you will just raise up. It doesn't work like that. But as far as men and what our job is, we definitely are on some BS.
Agreed.
I think that women, because I think that sometimes, anytime you start to give what seems to be a criticism to women, it's like a lot of times it comes across to them, it seems like that's the whole thing.
Sure.
And it's like, it's not like that. I know what the hell's going on with black men. I know how, man, come on, I know. All I'm saying is that no nation rise any higher than its woman. And one of the reasons that is because you give birth to children. And the influence that a child has is so great from the mother.
Intimately
you shape
connected.
that child. So if I'm a 50-year-old man and I'm looking back 50 years at all these destroyed men, I can actually track how that occurred. Because single parenthood with women in the household raising boys started about 60 years ago.
Yep.
And so because before 1964, 78% of black households had 2 parents.
I'll submit that it was more than that.
Yeah, I'm just saying what the statistics say. I think it was more than that too.
Yeah, them statistics lying, because I know about my neighborhood when I grew up.
Everybody had two parents.
Virtually everybody.
And when I say system, I'm talking about there was a systematic taking away of black men out of the black household.
Now that is an excellent point. Now, Febury, I want to bring up something you talked about earlier, and I kind of introduced this in why some of our men are single. Those are known factors. We got all the data on that information. What are we doing about it right now? I can tell you, I can go on Facebook right now and do empowerment brunch, and it will pull up tons of them for women. Why is it that our women, and this is for you, Febury, why is it that our women have been so eager to get with each other, to partner with each other, to try to learn from each other, to build women up? But men, for some reason, we put a brunch up there it ain't gonna get the traction. That's just the reality.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm going to say that again. That is when I say you all need to get with you. Women, we are putting in the effort to get with us and to say, we did not put black men out of the household. Okay? So I hear you. I agree with you. But we didn't put you out. We didn't.
Some of y'all kept us out, though, for real.
We can go back to all the. We can talk about the abuse. We can talk about we can talk about all the.
You done got serious on me now.
No, I'm just saying because that's serious. That's
it is
serious.
It is.
Because again, we didn't put you out.
That's true.
Okay, so we can talk about systems or what have you, but the bottom line is, as women and as men, we're going to procreate. That's just a simple, fundamental fact of it all. Okay, so if you leave or a system prevents you, whatever the case may be. As women, we're still going to raise our children.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, that's the bottom line. We're still going to, if we have them, good, bad, indifferent, and we all do what we know, we're going to raise our children. It's not women who are leaving the children behind. It's not women who are saying, I'm not going to have anything to do with you. So you can criticize how we're raising them. I think there's some criticism to be had in many cases. But again, we're doing the best we have with what we can with what we have. We are not, as a whole, as a collective whole, we're not talking about outliers, we're not talking about one-offs, stopping black men from raising their children.
Let me say this. First of all, statistics.
All right. Okay.
I'm sorry, can I?
Go ahead.
Statistics show that black men are very involved with their children.
We were about to say the same thing.
So that's a myth.
I didn't say. I never said you were not involved.
No, you implied.
I did not say. Do not do that to me,
You said
please.
black men.
Well, one second. Finish your thought.
Let me finish.
And then you were
okay. And the thing is like, as far as you didn't put us out of the home, understand something. You assisted.
How so?
Because I'm about to tell you. Because when the threat of sustenance is is given to you, the threat is given to you. You're not going to have housing if we find men here. You're not going to get this assistance if we find a man here. This was a systematic way of doing it. And then you said, get away from here. Don't come here. And then but there's so much that can be said.
Is that what we said?
That can be said about this. You understand what I'm saying? So the point I think that I really want to make is not so much about those little big things, but not necessarily about those things. It does come down to me thinking or saying that you have to look at cause and effect.
Okay.
If you don't look at why the black man is in the condition that he's in, then what you're saying is he's just inherently inferior.
That's a strong point, but I want Febury to have a chance to respond. Go right ahead.
Okay. Again, so to say if I find a man here, you won't have housing. Could you provide that housing? If whomever you're talking about said she would not have it, if you were there, could you provide it? Was it an alternate to what the offer was on the table? Because again, I'm saying, again, I'm not that old when I wasn't around when all this started, okay? I can only read the books, and a lot of the books ain't always true, and look at the statistics, okay?
All right, go ahead.
What I will say is that, did you offer an alternative? Did you have someplace else for her and her children to go? When they said, you cannot be here. Because if you were with her, and the option was you had to leave where she wasn't leaving where you were leaving where she was. So if you had to leave where she was, then the assumptions being made, I'm using those words now because I'm very clear about my wording, that you were with her. She was not with you because she can't put you out of your place. So you were with her. So now you're telling her, well, your option is either take this housing, this little welfare, what have you,
right.
Penny Annie give you. We all
Right.
understand that
Sure.
part. But he can't be here. Well, did he have a place for me to go to? Did he have some place to
answer.
feed me?
Well, one second, because now I just want to jump in. That's a strong point.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
is.
strong point. And this is when I get to the point of saying that men, we still have that slave mentality because it comes back to provision. Now, if we are supposed to be the protector, if that's our main role, protecting and providing and expecting the big piece of chicken at the table, if we don't have an alternative to your point, which is an excellent point, why would she put her children in a situation to where they could not eat or they didn't have a roof on their head?
No question. This is the thing. First of all, you're talking. I mean, it's like it's so much that goes into this. We just
It
not
is.
going to be able to get to
It really is.
Okay. However, just to your point, you're talking about. It wasn't just somebody said you can't be there and he just leave.
I was just using your example, brother.
Yeah.
I was just using your example.
I didn't say you weren't. I'm only letting you know that it wasn't like that. Because if you have now a system where there's rampant, systematic, of course, oppression and discrimination, mainly against males, because at that point it was men who worked. Okay, women only came in the workplace after World War II. Okay, women didn't work; they were at their home.
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't leave their home until they got married or they became what they call an old maid.
That's true.
Okay, so when women started working, when men were the breadwinners. Okay, and so then when you had unions that were against black men, because black men had these skills.
Yep.
Okay, white men didn't have the skills. It was black men who had the skills, so they formed unions to make sure they kept black men out of jobs. Then they took the factories out of the cities, which was where most black men were. So now the economic deprivation that is among black men, because black men worked, okay, is there. So now he don't have an alternative for us. Now, I'm not saying that, I can't go back and say what they should have done, so forth and so on. I'm just saying what happened. They don't have, now the deprivation of black men without money led the government to say, this is what we'll do. We're gonna help you. You, not him, you. And that right there is what basically started. Like I said, so many other things.
Right.
So when you asked if he had an alternative, actually at that point, no.
Okay, now that's fair. Now these are some strong arguments on both sides. I will still submit to you, and this is the challenge for us, Brother Antonio, is that there were still men who were faced with the same thing that in the scenario who was put out of the house, who went forth and built something anyway.
No question.
And I would submit that what we have to do as men is understand that, hey, this is the way the system is designed against us, but they ain't coming over here to burn down our neighborhood like they did in the Tulsa race riots. That's not going to happen today. We can go and build right now, and if we have our stuff together, we can actually partner with some pretty well-informed, educated, and connected women right now.
No question.
So historically, I completely agree with you. That has to be our reference knowledge of reference, not the operating knowledge.
No.
So I think that's our challenge right there, to make sure that our brothers and our men are doing more to partner with our women, because right now, the alternative, just as you eloquently stated, okay, you want me to move with you, but I got a 5-bedroom home and you got an apartment. Why would I do that?
Right.
And that's a viable argument. Why would I lower my vibration down, or my economic standing, or my lifestyle down? Why would I do that? Now, I want to go back to a point that you brought up earlier, Febury, and I like your input. You said that men need to do things to build themselves up. When Minister Louis Farrakhan put a call out to men and said, we're going to get 1 million men, which if you listen to the Department of Parks and Recreation's numbers that we didn't get, but we know that we did. He said, I'm calling 1 million men as a day of atonement, to atone for letting our women down, for not standing up in our community, for not being the men, the husbands, the fathers that we're supposed to be. Some of the people that detracted from that were women. And they said, you forgot about us. And they had to have a march for women. That call was specifically to call men to action. But when the focus was on the men, and the men, getting the help, the women were like, but what about me? I just want to know. Because this happened, you can go on Facebook and the comment post will say, men only, and go 2 posts down and you got a woman saying, I ain't a woman, but. So being completely real with you, I'd like to know, why do we have that phenomenon when we do something?
I would like to be able to protect my sisters, I'm sorry, I cringe too. I'm like, no, they're not talking to you.
Absolutely.
Shut up. No, I'm sorry. I really, guys, I have to submit to you on that one. I have nothing. It's almost embarrassing.
Y'all want us to get together and build on ourselves, but y'all want to be in control of how it happens. Y'all want to be in the middle
sometimes I really be like, yo, sis, shut up, sit down.
See, y'all being sexist.
Yeah,
There you go.
sorry.
Marshawn Lynch just had a little thing.
We're going to talk about that. We're
all
going
right,
to talk about that.
Well, I want to say this.
Yes.
The only thing that I'm talking about right now, because we can come up into, because if you look at black men and you look at the condition that we're in relative to everybody, and especially black women, like I said, if you do not look for the cause, then you are saying that we are inferior. That's it. Because he's just like that because this is where he is. No, wait. So that's necessary, because once we understand why it happened, then we understand how we got here, then we can actually come up with some viable solutions. But to just go out here and think, you don't need to know those things, you can just, nothing, whether it is in life, whether it is in job, work, corporate, nothing works like that. You have to know.
Now, before you respond, this week we lost an icon in our community.
No question.
And there's a tribute that I want to play to Toni Morrison in just a moment, just to really bring a spotlight to who she was and who she still is in spirit to our community. But Febury, go ahead with your response.
I respect what you're saying, definitely, but I will also say I feel as though we have regurgitated issues, problems, situations, and concerns ad nauseum. I'm all for, like, as you know, as they say, of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. It's my favorite quote in college. And I will agree. But I think that we have talked about it ad nauseum over and over again, what has happened, what the issue has been, why. Can we start working on some solutions? I do not think the black man is inferior by any stretch of the imagination. However, how long are we going to talk about the problem? How long are we going to talk about how we got here, why we got here, as compared to discussing some relative and viable solutions?
Now, I'm going to jump in because that's a powerful point. And before we get to this tribute for Toni Morrison, I want everybody to understand something. When it comes to LeBron James, I'm not a LeBron James fan on the court. Off the court, if you do your research, the man is just phenomenal. One of his friends who he met, who was basically selling something out of a trunk before he went into the league, he helped that friend establish his own line of business, and he began to represent NBA agent or players as an agent. And he's been doing very well. Now, in the environment that was set, he didn't have any of the skills, but he acquired them. And he's gaining more and more influence. And you know what just happened? And I got a video that talks about protesting with your talent. We're going to show that video in a second. But what the NCAA has done is they have changed the rules. Now you have to have this certification and this experience and this insurance, and now you must have a bachelor's degree to represent these elite NCAA athletes who are looking at going pro. We're going to watch this video, and then we'll come back and talk about it. But I just want to really articulate what happens whenever we start to make strides. Let's go ahead and roll that clip. Here we go. It'll be coming up in just a second. The thing is, it just talks about how the landscape is forever changing once we start making progress. Go ahead and play the clip. Here we go. Well, no worries. So here's the thing that I want to get back to. Whenever we get mastery of something, we take over.
No question.
Whenever we get mastery of, we take over. And what always happens, for some reason, they tend to go and modify or change the rules. So taking what you challenged us with, which is legitimate, what we find is, okay, when we do it and we make things happen, they got to change stuff around. We got the video ready. Let's go ahead and roll clip. Here we go.
They're calling it the Rich Paul rule, which is appropriate, but I'm going to call it something else. Straight up racism. But instead of crying, complaining, and begging, it's time for black people to take action. You fight power with power. And one of our greatest sources of power is our athletic dominance. So I'm calling on all of our great black football and basketball players. Instead of going to these big universities that chew you up, spit you out, and don't care about you, go to an HBCU, a Howard, Morehouse, Hampton, Xavier of New Orleans, and many other schools. I know some of them are still NCAA, but at least the millions of dollars you generate would go to benefiting black people who are in dire need of economic empowerment. Secondly, our professional athletes, instead of giving $2-3 million donations to these big schools that you stayed at for a year or two, give it to an HBCU. Then they could strengthen their academic programs and their athletic programs and facilities.
Well said. Well said. So,
sir.
Febury, the other point to your excellent point, or the counterpoint to your excellent point, is that we've been making strides in our own ways, but the landscape is constantly shifted, or the rules are changed once we start to get our footing. Why do you think that is?
Well, we know why it is, but I'm going to say this. We already know that, though.
Okay.
The thing is, and I get our circumstance. I'm talking about us both, black men, black women. Mm-hmm. We are always in survival mode. So we're not thinking years and generations ahead. We already know they change the landscape. We already know how they get down. The thing is, we have to start to build things into our own programs in existence to know how they're going to get down. I was saying the reason regentification is so easy is because we're not thinking 10, 20, 30 years ahead, where they've already got plans 10, 20, 30 years ahead. Our grandparents and so on and so forth, we're still just trying to keep the taxes paid today. So it's much easier when they've already put a program in place to come and take that. But however, if we, those of us who have the means or what have you, would stop getting so up, we moved to Alpharetta. The second we get a little money, because we don't want to be associated now with Pookie and them. But Becky will roll her stroller right over Pookie and them while that neighborhood starts to come up.
Absolutely.
We could do the exact same thing,
Absolutely.
but we're so right now focused, rarely looking at a big plan and a big picture. And that's why I say why we can't get ahead, because we've got to stop looking, like you guys said, we're done. Okay, we got 30, 40 more good years in us, right? You know what I'm saying? But still, we're not the young generation. And we got a couple more years to go.
Yes.
But it's our children and our children's children. So we have to start putting plans in action for them and understanding, guys, the landscape is going to constantly change. They're going to bob. We have to start training them in that way and stop making excuses for the things we already know is going to happen.
Absolutely.
We know they're going to do it. What's next? We're so busy on the now that we don't think generations ahead, whereas our counterparts are thinking generations ahead.
Fair point, Brother Antonio.
I think, definitely I agree. And I always say to people that I know that black people don't build institutions to carry their knowledge. White people, they build institutions to carry their knowledge. When we die,
knowledge they've acquired.
Right, knowledge they've acquired, they stole, whatever. They build institutions to continue their knowledge, to continue their world.
Yes.
We don't build institutions to even build a world for ourselves. And so my thing is not about, it may seem like it, but it's not about looking back and staying there. It's just that knowledge is necessary. The people perish for the lack of knowledge, not money, not other stuff. You dig what I'm saying? We don't have knowledge. So I might know what you're saying. You might know this. But there are large swaths of black people in our society who are ignorant.
And I want to jump right in right there before we show this tribute for Toni Morrison. I was playing with my granddaughter the other day. Actually, I was talking to her on the phone, and she was just being silly, and she didn't want to talk and all this other stuff, and she wouldn't say hey to the granddad. I said, Nahari, why are you being so crazy? My granddaughter said, I'm not being crazy. I'm just having fun. And then it hit me. As much as I coach people, as much as I talk to people, I should know better than to say something like that. I should know better than to attribute this 2.5-year-old's creative mind that already has grasped the concept of, humor and satire and all this other stuff in her own little way. She knows how to play a game with the granddad, just being really smart.
Right.
And I assign the label crazy to it. And fortunately, she's young enough to know that I ain't crazy.
Yeah.
And smart enough to know that she can articulate that at this time and it not be taken like it was if I said that to my mother, which would have been a backhand
Right.
for raising your voice in any type of way and having sass in your talk. No, she was just acknowledging her right to be who she is in the now. And I think that's something as well that we, in our generation, we have to guard our children's brilliance.
No question.
I'll never forget the interview with Richard Williams and Venus Williams when she was just starting to whoop people's ass on the tennis court. And they had this interview and they said, well, why are you so confident? She said, because I know I'm going to win. And the reporter came back again, but why?
And where Richard?
He jumped in, he said, hey, don't you? He admonished that reporter, and the reporter was mad, but what he did as a father, you're not going to attack her confidence.
Right.
She's confident, and you're going to let her be a child, and she's going to do what she's going to do, and he shut the interview down.
That's right.
And ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Again, there's no substitute for both parents being in the household, in my opinion, or both parents being active, and I believe there's no substitute for the discipline and provision of an effective, strong, and present father.
That's no question.
So we got this clip, tribute to Toni Morrison. Now, we're going to discuss Toni Morrison in a little bit when we come back, but we'll take a look at this clip. This is just a truly powerful, amazing woman. Here we go. Roll clip.
One of my favorites.
Toni Morrison, she is used to a little distraction. As a single mother working at a publishing company by day, she would carve out a little time in the evening to write, often with her two sons pulling on her hair and tugging at her earrings. Once a baby spit up on her tablet, so she wrote around it. Circumstances may not have been ideal, but the words that came out were magical. Toni Morrison's prose brings us that kind of moral and emotional intensity that few writers ever attempt. From Song of Solomon to Beloved, Toni reaches us deeply, using a tone that is lyrical, precise, distinct, and inclusive. She believes that language arcs toward the place where meaning might lie. The rest of us are lucky to be following along for the ride.
Toni Morrison. The first African-American woman to win a Nobel Prize, Toni Morrison is one of our nation's most distinguished storytellers. She has captivated readers through lyrical prose that depicts the complexities of a people and challenges our concepts of race and gender. Her works are hallmarks of the American literary tradition, and the United States proudly honors her for her nourishing our souls and strengthening the character of our union.
Man, listen. That's almost like losing a family member.
Right.
I mean, for real, I can kind of feel like the tingling of the emotions just watching that, because when you have someone that's so vocal, that speaks to your energy, to your pain or your concerns or your life, and does it in a way that's just brilliant, that makes people stop and listen, that's family. That's family. Now, we got more Toni Morrisons out there right now using excuses. I got to work during the day. Giving your best stuff to the job. Get the best stuff to your family. Do your job. Do well. But your family gets your best, not your employer. They get that good. But your family gets the best. And right now we got it backwards. We give our best to our jobs and come home, we ain't got nothing left. bring our best stuff home to our families, watch our families start flourishing again. All right, Febury.
Yes.
Just briefly, the impact Toni Morrison had on you.
I was an honors thespian in school. I went to performing arts schools, so there you have it. Like, I grew up in performing arts schools, and Toni Morrison was. That's all I can say. Just the magnitude, just having to read about her, to read her, to perform. Some of the things that she had written. So yeah.
Yeah, Brother Antonio.
Yeah. As a growing up, there were things that she said that basically about anger. One of my favorite quotes. About how to live your life as a black person in America. I mean, there were things that she said, and I read what she said mostly through quotes, even when I was in my early 20s, But the thing is, it touched me because it seemed to two things. One, it gave me when I looked at black women, this is what I saw.
Sure.
I didn't see what could be negative media portrayals. I saw people like Toni Morrison, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, Nina Simone. These were women. This to me was what black women were.
Absolutely.
And so when she would, say things that she would say, it just felt, number one, that it came from my mother, and number two, that it was something that I felt already. And she just put it in words. So it was like when she passed, it was like losing a family member, like you said.
Absolutely. One thing that I saw recently was she was talking about the power of racism and helping other people feel powerful.
Yeah.
And without it, you lose your power.
Right.
If you were so brilliant, you wouldn't need racism. If you were so talented, you wouldn't need racism. But you got to have it, because without it, you'll fall. I'm paraphrasing what she said, but at the essence of it, it makes a whole lot of sense. Why do we even have to have racism if you're so good? Why does it take a nation of millions to hold us back over all these years if you're so successful? What is it about us that it required COINTELPRO? What was it about the Black Panthers getting together and providing for their neighborhood and protecting their neighborhoods that made them a threat to the American way? Let's think about it. Because talking about what you said, what's the alternative to me living in the project? And talking about what you said, when black men standing up and doing what we've got to do, when it happened in the form of the Black Panther Party, it was a threat. It was a threat. Police officer, you ain't got to come in this neighborhood. We protecting this neighborhood, and we're doing it within the confines of the law. What they do? They changed the law.
Exactly.
They changed the law. They copied some of the programs that the Black Panthers started. Took the very template and copied them. So it goes back to, okay, if you're that good, why do you have to keep changing the rules? That's just a question. Dale Hansen kind of asked that question too. If you don't know Dale Hansen, he's a plain-spoken older white gentleman out of Texas. He's a sports reporter, and every now and then he has this little monologue that he does, breaking things down. And Dale Hansen talked about racism recently. We're going to play that clip coming up soon. Febury, I got to ask you this question. Okay, what about all the broken black women out there? Can we just say we ain't loving on them no more? Can we do that?
Yes, you can.
We can.
Go ahead.
We can do it.
You can, yeah.
Should we do it?
You can. I'm answering the question. You sure can.
Should we do it?
I'm not going to say anything different than I said before. I think Antonio thinks I'm saying one thing when I'm saying another. At some point, you have to take accountability and responsibility for yourself and your own actions. Regardless, we've all had something that's happened to us.
Sure.
And we can either use that as a catalyst to be better or continue to use it as a catalyst to be a victim.
Okay, fair enough.
So as black women, we have to do the mirror test, do the hard work, so that again, when this great black man comes along, I am of value to him.
You don't run him
I
off.
can assist him. I can help us build an empire together. I can be a complement and not a constant competition. But again, I do not believe that anyone outside of professional help,
Mm-hmm.
outside of simple common courtesy, compassion,
Mm-hmm.
should be carrying a broken person.
Okay, fair enough. Brother Antonio.
I don't think a person should necessarily carry a broken person, but this is the thing. If I have a woman
Mm-hmm.
and I have a issue that I'm trying to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
should I be able to go and talk to her about that?
I think so.
Okay. I think that she is the first person I should talk to.
Sure.
She is the first person that's supposed to help assist me with my issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mhm.
if it is beyond her and it's beyond us, then we can go get to a third party.
Sure.
But the first thing I have to do is go to her first.
Sure.
It is not about going outside. And it's just like if you're looking at, because I'm looking at black people, we can get into individual things, but I'm looking at black people as a whole, because black people as a whole, we break ourselves down to individuals, but the threat against us is unified. The
Absolutely.
threat against black people is unified, but we want to be in disunity in order to try to fight it, and we're just not going to win like that. So we have to find somewhere or some place to find unity among us.
Common ground.
Not this individual, you do, you think. That I'm telling you, it has never worked. It is not going to work. And I know that people today advocate for that because this is the mind that I think that we have been given, not because it's something that's going to actually work. It just sounds like it's going to sound
May I
good.
interject something?
Good point.
I think that,
Febury.
sorry. I think we're talking about two separate things again, because again, it is one thing to have an issue, it is one thing to have a problem, it is one thing to have a concern and to be able to go to your partner about something. It's another thing to be completely damaged and broken, that you're taking someone else down with you because they don't have the the equipment, for lack of better verbiage, to help you with that. You need psychological help. You need something stronger and deeper than what I can give you. Of course, you should be able to come to me if you have an issue, problem, situation, or concern. But if you have some serious, I always tell people, I'm a coach, not a therapist. The difference between a coach and a therapist deals in deep pathological issues that have to be go in,
Sure.
get into, and uproot them. A coach, you want to work on your jump shot? Let me see what you're working with. You buckle your knee, I'm be like, yo, what's wrong with your knee? I think it's hurt. You need to go see a doctor. There's an underlying issue. I can't even help you with your jump shot until you deal with your busted knee. And there are a lot of people in these broken relationships that have a busted knee. They have underlying deep-rooted issues that their partners can't even begin to help them with because they haven't dealt with the pathologies that are going on. That's a complete difference. That's what I mean. You go get healthy enough so that when you need me as a coach to give you tips, tools, techniques, and things, I can work with that. We all need some help, but I'm not a therapist.
I love it. You brought up an excellent point. I got you, Brother Antonio. But I love this point. I'm just going to jump in because I had a session not long ago dealing with something like you talked about, the pathology. Young lady, very, very successful, doing it. Big money, big house, nice, wonderful career, doing very, very good. And her job, she's thrown herself into it so hard that it's actually a defense mechanism. And when she meets a qualified man, a man that is her equal, that can partner with her, she doesn't want to give up her comfort level. She would rather, you got your stuff, I got my stuff, and we see each other when we can see each other. That's the arrangement that she wants. She doesn't want to risk having to be emotionally vulnerable or emotionally responsible to anybody because she could be hurt. This is what she said to me. I don't want to get in a relationship with somebody because you could get hurt. You could drive down the street and get killed, is what I said back. I said, now, I'm not the type of coach that's going to sit here and say, yeah, that's right, you should play it safe. I'm going to say you need to figure out why you are so afraid of living that you're killing yourself in your career. Because literally, she'll work 80 hours a week to get that money to avoid seriously dating somebody. So we got a lot of successful women out there right now that on the surface got everything they want. But when you get behind that exterior, that defense mechanism, you will still see the little girl that they built the wall around, that they never allowed to grow up in an emotional way, protected by the wall. The wall protects people from getting in or out. Just my thought. Brother Antonio.
Yeah. No. Actually, I forgot what my point was.
No worries, no worries. We're going to play this clip because this brings us to another topic. First of all, again, the number's 470-251-4647. This topic kind of goes back to broken women. Now, this is talking about child support. We're going to listen to this clip. We'll come back and talk about it, and we'll talk about how it even got to this point. Go ahead, roll clip.
Wild and unbelievable stories here in Detroit.
This is one of them.
This is one of them. Imagine being told to pay child support for a kid that is not yours or go to jail. That was the order the state handed down to a Detroit man.
So today, he turned himself in, but here's what happened when 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell went with him to court.
Carnell Alexander walked into the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice knowing in moments he could lose his freedom.
I stayed up all night, couldn't sleep, thinking about it.
Carnell is a wanted man because he refuses to do what the state orders and to pay child support for a child that DNA tests prove isn't his. A child he doesn't even know.
I haven't even had a chance to really speak to him except for one time when we took the DNA test.
Nonetheless, right now, under the law, he's a deadbeat dad. Today, he turned himself in to the judge as ordered.
Scared because I've been before this judge before.
But this time he had attorney Cherika Harris, who volunteered to help after seeing his story on 7 Action News. The judge said he will not go to jail for today.
Thank you. Thank Ms. Harris. And hope that we can resolve this soon.
I'm just trying to help him with his future.
Though the threat of jail is on hold, it is not over. Carnell Alexander still owes more than $30,000 to the state for a child that's not his, because the mom wrote his name down because she needed to name someone in order to get welfare benefits.
And I had to put him down as the father. That was the only way I can get assistance.
Now,
I'm almost homeless. I'm almost in jail. I'm out of work. My money is being threatened to be taken.
Carnell isn't just worried about how this is impacting him. He says the law needs to be changed, so when this happens, as it often does, other men don't become dad by default.
We can be defaulted into being a father of a child that is not ours. I don't understand that law, but it is a law in place.
In Detroit, Kim Russell, 7 Action News.
Yeah, you would think that mother would have to pay that money back instead of him, who's not the father's child.
Here's the thing now. I want everybody to understand me. First of all, if you are a real deadbeat dad and you ain't doing what you're supposed to do, that woman is supposed to put you on child support. You got one of two options. Take care of your child, be responsible, and be there financially, or you get taken to court. Because at the end of the day, if you're not going to do what you're supposed to do by that child, at least she should be able to have some type of financial recourse so that she can do it. That's just the bottom line. That said, in this instance, and this is not the only state that this happens in, and this is not the only case of its kind, in this instance, a woman knowingly put somebody down to take advantage of the law so that she could receive benefits. This is not a 12-year-old story. It's a couple of years, but it ain't 12 years old. This is still happening. With that type of thing being put in place against men, what do we do about the broken women who will take advantage of this type of situation? Brother Antonio, we'll start with you.
Here again, I think it's kind of hard for me to look at things without looking at the overarching system.
Mm-hmm.
Because I even hate women to even be put in this position.
Sure.
But then there are choices that are made, because he was with her, I guess, at some point,
mm-hmm.
and made the choice to be with her. She made certain choices or whatever. But the thing is, the lack of men, to me, that is a symptom of the lack of men.
Responsible men.
Not that he is, necessarily the irresponsible person in this scenario.
Sure.
But just the overall culture that we have is an issue of is the issue of men not being there. We're not there.
Agree.
We're not protecting, we're not producing, we're not providing. And even though, like I said, we've been going through, some of the things that led up to this, there is no excuse.
Agree.
It's just, it isn't. It's like, I understand, like Sister was saying a few minutes ago, I understand how we got here,
mm-hmm.
but to me, that's important. However, it's even more important for us to stand up for our own survival. You dig? To protect our women. That right there, the protection of our women is paramount.
Agree.
And that anyway, it ain't much I can really say about that. Much more.
Febury, what do you think?
Yeah, this one's bothersome to me too. It's honestly, I'm all for mandatory paternity testing. Yeah. I mean, I've heard the stories too many times. I don't like the stigma attached. I don't even like how it, for women who do need the help, who do need the support, and what they have to go through, and how they're stigmatized as being some, deadbeat that she can't take care of herself and her kids. Like, come on, So I think mandatory paternity testing should be across the board. Hell, I'm even for when people are married. Like, I have no problems with people being held to that level of accountability. Things do happen. It has happened. Like, listen, we just paternity test everybody. If you have a child, I mean, who knows what they may do with that information, but they do what they do anyway, nevertheless. But I think that it should be mandatory paternity testing across the board for every child that's just born on the planet. And that way, there is no conversation, there is no discussion. This is one that really does bother me. It truly bothers me because I'm not from a family like that.
Right.
Quick backstory, my dad had me and my sister 7 months apart. My mom was 17. I think her mom was maybe 20. My dad was probably 19 or 20. My sister and I grew up together. Oh, wow. When he picked up one, he picked up the other one. My sister had siblings. He picked up her, he picked up the siblings. So I grew up in a family like that.
Yes.
To this day, my sister and I are very close. We hung out at my paternal grandmother's house together. Hell, I hung out at her house together. Like, her brothers were like my brothers. Right. And I didn't have brothers. So I grew up in a household, in a family where that was never a conversation. Kids were to be taken care of. Kids were, whatever the adults had going on, the adults had going on. I didn't grow up with my dad being called out of his name, none of that stuff. And consequently, I've never said anything bad about my child's father. I don't believe in those things. Talking about someone's parent is completely off limits. Because those are decisions and choices I made. I do not get the right to put those off on my children. To me, that's almost abuse. I put that in an area of abuse with children. So honestly, when it comes to things like this, I'm just like mandatory testing across the board. I should even think it should be against a lot of even talk bad about the person's parent.
Something real subtle that a lot of people will miss about that news clip. They had his face all over the screen, but they blurred her face. Out. Blurred her face. Didn't give you her name. But his name, boom, the amount of money, all that stuff is right there, and his face is right there. I'm glad the brother had on a suit. I'm really glad about that, and he could articulate what was going on. Yeah. But they did not, I don't know why they did, but the fact that they blurred her face out when she was the one who actually caused the scenario.
Well, she falsified legal documents.
And they are protecting her when he is the victim. He's the victim. Now, again, I want to say this, and I really want everybody to understand me. I'm not saying that the child support laws should not be on the books, because there should be some type of financial recourse when the man is not doing, or the woman is not doing what they're supposed to do. That part goes without saying. Things like this, though, that allows someone who is not the father to have $30,000 hanging over his head or jail, makes no sense. Yeah. None at all. No sense at all.
When it should be her, in my opinion.
Woo. All right, so I want to ask a question. Let's get to something different right here. Let's talk about dating a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about dating a little bit. We're going to lighten the conversation up a little bit.
Dating?
Yes. Now, first of all, Febury.
Yes.
You see this brother. And, physically, not just physically, he's caught your eye.
Okay.
Right height, right build, right complexion, everything, and you feel that energy. Are you going to shoot your shot? Are you going to approach that brother?
I think there's a way that women shoot their shot, and I think that it may be as simple as saying hello, a compliment, how are you? If the brother don't pick the ball up, I'm like, guess that's that. Like, I'm not really for very aggressive. I think that I can recognize that being in an open setting and a bunch of people around, and because I tend to kind of do a little walk around a couple of times, let the brother check me out. I'm trying to get your attention. Do a walk around,
All right.
And like I said, and I will engage people in conversation. I keep the conversation very neutral. Like, hey, I really like that. I like that shirt you're wearing. This is really nice. Yeah. Now, the brother doesn't take any further than that. Nothing has happened. That was me shooting my shot. Okay. That's it. And if you don't take it past that, I'm not going. If you don't ask me for my phone number, we're not exchanging phone numbers. Okay. If you don't, again, I made it. I opened the door. I'm a receiving vessel. That's my responsibility. You're a giving vessel. That's your responsibility.
Why did she go giving vessel? Did y'all see that?
So I created a space.
Yes.
And
you. All right.
You don't take it from me. But I do think it's a feminine energy. Like I said again, I'm a receiver, and it's okay to create a space. I do believe it's okay to create a space to compliment, to speak some niceties or what have you. But in my personal opinion, I think that's as far as a woman should go.
Okay, now good deal. Now, Brother Antonio, before you come in, I got this clip.
Okay.
We're gonna play this clip. It's by a brother named Antonio Alacena. And I saw the clip the other day, and now we had already talked about coming back on the show, and he's the project that he's working on. I'm going to do with him as well. But when he put this clip up, I'm like, yeah, we got to talk about that. So we're going to play this clip. We'll come back and talk about it. Let's go ahead and get this clip on Brother Antonio's view of a woman shooting her shot. Roll clip.
I know that some of my soldiers are going to disagree with me on this subject. But ladies, it is not the thing for you to shoot your shot. I've been seeing videos, and I've been seeing women agree with, if you see a man that you want, and you see him and he ain't came to you, then you're going to shoot your shot. Well, I'm telling you now that shooting your shot to a man is not what's up, okay? If a man doesn't have the confidence to approach you, then you don't need him. You better left without him. And if he has confidence and he has not approached you, then he don't have enough interest in you. You're just putting yourself in a position to be used by that guy. So you can open yourself up to be like, I'm interested. You can show interest in some kind of way. It's okay to flirt. But shooting your shot, nah, don't shoot your shot. If a guy don't have confidence enough to come holler at you, then you better left without it. Now, some guys will advocate that women should shoot their shot. And I think many of those guys simply feel like in some way they need a woman to approach them to get some validation that they are attractive or they're wanted in these kinds of things. But masculinity, when you have enough of that, you don't need that like that. You know what I'm saying? And I know, some of my soldiers are gonna be like, nah, they ain't it, blah, blah, it's equal, blah, nah. There are a lot of things that you find out about a man, ladies, if he has the nerve to approach you, to face being what people call rejected. Just doing that right there shows you a lot about a guy. But if you jump the gun and you go after him, there's certain things you're not gonna see. Anyway, just want to say that. All right? I'll let you later.
Brother Antonio. Okay, so you've made the case for not shooting your shot, and you articulated it well. So I'm a guy, and a woman comes up to me. Should I automatically discount her because she approached?
No. It's not an automatically discount because she approached.
Okay.
The thing is, it just depends. I know, like, for example, if a woman comes to me and say, this has happened, and say, hey, how you doing? I saw you, what I'm saying? I wanted to give you my number, give me a call. I don't feel offended.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That could possibly work.
Okay.
I'm talking about that could possibly work, but I'm talking about when men are in public, because I see women, they a lot of times talk about how guys are staring at them, but they're not saying anything. They staring from across the room. They giving them the eye, but they're not coming over there. You dig? Yeah. I'm talking about the guy who finds himself wanting this woman.
Right.
But ain't making no move.
Ain't doing nothing.
Ain't doing nothing. So you either don't have the confidence,
Okay.
or you don't have sufficient interest to do it.
Okay.
So for me, and how I look at shooting your shot, like, you know, Febury, like what you were saying is like, to me, that's opening the door for him.
Sure.
You dig? I mean, I don't necessarily think it's shooting a shot. A young lady was saying on my feed the other day that it worked for her and her husband, and her version of shooting her shot was she invited him to an event. That ain't what I'm talking about.
That was different. She created an environment.
Right, you created this environment. You allow but let me say this right quick. If a guy in the interaction with a woman, there are things I think a man needs to be able to show.
Sure.
He needs to be able to show that he has some confidence. He needs to be able to show that he has some creativity. Because when I'm talking to a woman, there's some things I got. They used to call it having game back in the day. You dig what I'm saying?
It's still called having game.
Okay, yeah. You got to show that you got some creativity, because there's some things that you're gonna say that you want to maneuver her mind and create an environment in her mind with what you do and what you say. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to be observant. I have to be observant enough to see the signs. But allow that to happen, ladies. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't.
Here's the other side of it, and I want this to pose this to you, Febury. Now, like you said, you open a door. You set an environment. You express, okay, here's an avenue. What you gonna do? And I agree with that part. Women have the power of seduction. And oftentimes, they don't exercise it. Oftentimes, they imitate some of the worst attributes of some of the worst men instead of developing their own feminine energy, their own sexual energy, that power of seduction. What do you think about that, Febury?
Well, now you're in my lane.
There you go.
So, and I would have to agree with you, again, because we've been taught that being feminine or feminine energy was weak. Every part of our society has ramped up masculine energy. And so women have assumed this role of, well, I have to be more masculine. I'm not understanding that your feminine is the greatest thing in the world.
Powerful.
I can do just about anything and everything through it. Now, not to say that masculine energy is not needed or warranted at times, but it should not be for a woman, particularly if a woman wants things from men. Whatever that thing is, it should not be the dominant energy.
Agreed.
It's your feminine that should be the dominant energy. I always tell women, you're like a lure. Alluring is a word that will never be used for a man. Thank God, right? We map on a lot of different words, but alluring, and that's it. Like I tell women, you're just this, it's kind of, you're just whatever you're trying to catch, darling, know what the lure is and do so. But a lure doesn't go out and get anything.
It does
It
not.
casts itself at a spot and it beckons and summons whatever it desires to come to it.
Absolutely.
Based on whatever the lure is, based on what you're trying to catch. Of course, there's different types of things, but that is the feminine. And just understand, when she understands that and understands the components of men and who they are, she would soften so much more often to get what she wants, as compared to attempting to man up. She would woman up and get so much more.
Whole lot more. Brother Antonio.
Yeah, listen, I agree 100%. It's like this here. I've always said, I think that women have three main superpowers: subtlety, femininity, and intuition. And those are things that you, in my view, need to harness and practice. And with a man, I think a woman can get anything she wants from him. Anything, but it has to be through the process and the energy of femininity.
Agreed.
Because if you're going to try, what happens is, I think that there's a psychological, like you had this foolish book that was written by this brother called Think Like a Man.
Oh yeah,
all
Date
that
Like a
kind
Woman.
of craziness. Yeah. It's like, first of all, you could never do it. Secondly, why would you want to use the process of trying to think like a man to accomplish something from a man? I mean, because if you think like a man, I don't want you. I'm a man, you thinking like one. I don't want you. So harness the femininity, harness that energy, harness those things, and it'll come so much more easier to you. It will.
Now,
so I agree.
Both of you made an outstanding point. sticking with dating, going beyond dating and the relationship now, it seems now that people break up for any reason. Any reason at all. So I got a video called, Ain't No Breaking Up. We'll play that soon. But let me ask you, Febury, in your profession and in your experience, what have you found to be some of the most common reasons why women are breaking up from the relationships they've been in? Some of the most common reasons.
Outside of the obvious,
outside
abuses
of
and things of that nature.
One that you would consider petty, for lack of a better way of describing it. Somebody did mistreating you emotionally, physically, of course you shouldn't be in that relationship. I'm talking about the stuff that's like, damn, you breaking up with them for that? What do you think?
I'm going to be honest. What I hear the most and what causes most women to break up, and I don't even know if I'm going to say putting it on someone else, I'm going to say for them, is the lack of being able to be vulnerable. This is just you were just talking about before. Again, us, not understanding our positions.
Okay.
We want men to be like women. We want women to be like men. Yep. And that's what so that's a pretty big umbrella, but I find that to be the case. Quite often we really don't appreciate, and everybody wants to be, well, we could all do this and we can both do that.
Yep.
There's something to be said for roles.
It is, no question.
There's something to be said for roles. There's nothing else, at least not in this society, that doesn't operate on roles. You don't go to your employer and say, well, I can do this. You have a set
role and
function.
A function, absolutely.
And what I find is that because we don't have roles and functions, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. So I see relationships falling apart across the board for that very simple, not talking about serious stuff. I'm talking about because there are no roles and functions.
Agreed.
Well, I can do this and he could. There are no roles and functions.
Well said. Brother Antonio, what about you?
One of the things I think, and I agree with that also, I call it purpose and function. And what ends up happening is there's a lack of understanding about who we are. One thing that I've noticed in a lot of relationships that I've been in and I've observed is that there's one phrase that seemingly every male in a relationship with a woman utters. And it's, no, I ain't mean it like that. That's not what I meant. Because we'll say one thing, they'll hear something different.
Okay, true enough.
Because we really do speak different languages.
Absolutely.
Okay, because you're feminine, I'm masculine. Now, there has to be we can actually, merge, we can actually get this language taken care of. But one of the things that I find, and it's not always what's said, but one thing I find is that breakups happen because of misunderstanding in communication, whether that communication is verbal, whether it is in what people do. There's a big problem with that, I think, with us.
And I agree. I'll add to what both of you said because both of you are spot on. Some things that I've noticed in some of my coaching sessions is that somebody don't want to be wrong. Yeah, I made a mistake, but I don't want to be wrong about it. She did this or he did that. And so instead of apologizing through changed behavior, not just verbal action, but changed behavior, you're going to break up. So you avoid that and just throw the whole relationship away. Right. I was watching something today, couples court or something like that today. And the man was there saying, this woman and I used to work together. We worked together before I met my girlfriend. My girlfriend knew about this woman. I talked to this woman 5 o'clock in the morning because we're trying to make money. We're getting ready to open this shop up. She doesn't call me at 5 o'clock in the morning for personal conversation. This business. Took a polygraph test. Passed the polygraph test. Proved that he hadn't slept with her, the woman in question, or any other woman while he was with his girlfriend. Girlfriend hugged him up, said, I love you. The caption at the end of the story was, they broke up because she still thought he was cheating on her. I don't get it. You got a polygraph test on a nationally syndicated TV show showing that he had no signs of deception. And now you still accusing him of cheating. Now that's a you problem.
Exactly.
That ain't a him, that's a you problem. So instead of saying, all right, I was the problem, I'm gonna work on myself, you're gonna keep on accusing, so you never have to look on the inside. And we got too many people full of too much pride, focused on the me, and not the we in the relationship. And you're killing me by doing that. All right, so I got a clip coming up soon called Ain't No Breaking Up. Ain't No Breaking Up. I love this. Now, if your children's are around right now, I need you to take them and cover their ears. But this is a pretty funny little clip. We're going to go ahead and play this clip. We'll come back and talk about it in just a second. Ain't no breaking up. Roll clip.
Next relationship I get in, bro, psych. Ain't gonna be no next relationship, motherfucker. You know why? Cause you gonna stay with me. Real talk, ain't nobody got time to be trying to figure out the next person when I already took the time out to figure out your ugly ass. So no, ain't no breaking up. Fuck is you talking about? And if we do break up, we gonna make up. Fuck is you talking about? And for the motherfuckers that say they break up happy homes, bitch, I break loose bones. Fuck you talking about, so stay away from my home. Even if we don't like each other, we still gonna like each other with your bald-headed ass. Real talk, I'm already used to your smell. I'm already used to your touch. I'm already used to your presence. And plus, who gonna love you like me? Nobody. So with that being said, me and you, us never part, my kita. Me and you, us got one heart, my kita. Ain't no ocean, ain't no sea, my kita. Keep my baby away from me, my kita. Nothing but death can keep me from you.
I love it. I love it. We got to get back to that stuff now.
I know, right?
Febury, what do you think about that attitude? What do you think?
It's cute now.
Yeah.
I think it's great in concept. I think it's great in theory. Yeah.
Okay. Great in concept, great in theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, I think it's about people being healthy and whole enough to be able to do it. And that's just the bottom line. You have to be able to forgive somebody, to be able to look at yourself and say I was wrong, to be able to put your pride down, to be able to be like, you know what, I can't stand you right now, but I love you so much anyway. You know, to be able to be like, you had a rough day and you acting a damn fool, so I'm gonna go over here. I'm still get you something to eat, but I'm gonna go over here and let you do your thing. You know. But because I know you, to be able to be that person for somebody takes someone that's really mature themselves.
Agreed.
You know, it takes a really mature person to say that this is it, me and you. Like I'm willing to, and that's what I mean by the difference between healthy and unhealthy. I'm willing to work with you and your stuff and who you are. I know you. I trust you. I know at your core you have my best interest at heart. That's not a broken person. That's just a human being.
Sure.
And those are things, like I said, when we're mature enough to work, that's awesome. But I don't think most of us, male or female, are that mature.
Well said, Brother Antonio.
Yeah, what can I say to she? I mean, I'm gonna try to add something to that. I mean, because maturity is definitely
huge factor.
It's huge. But as far as people, I mean, there's a good attitude, like you said. But realistically, I don't think that there are enough. What I guess maybe you mean healed individuals, you know, to go around. Most people that come to another person isn't whole.
That's true.
You dig? And so we end up going through, with men, we may end up going through several women, destroying the ones that we go through to get to the one that helps us really, or we've gotten to a point where we really have some degree of wholeness. And I say some degree of wholeness. I mean, it's a very difficult thing, but it can be done, but it's not anyway, there's not much I can say about that.
Here's the thing, and I'll submit this to you. When our parents and our grandparents were married, there was a lot of situations where the mothers could not leave for financial reasons, or they didn't have any other options, education or whatever the case is. A lot of that. At the same time, there were a lot of households that on the outside, the father may have appeared to be front and center, but on the inside of that house, everybody followed the rules of the mother set forth by the mother in that house. She ran the house like a business. If you know anything about the AME Church, it talks a lot about Richard Allen. And Richard Allen was this pastor who went all over the place. Based on who tells the story, he was a criminal. Based on who tells the story. Now, if some other people outside of our community tell the story, he was a criminal. But inside of our community, we know better. You can't be a criminal if you were running away from an immoral act like slavery. Come on, son. But when you talk about his second wife, Sarah Allen, that woman really made the AME church, because when all the bishops got together and they were traveling from city to city, they came together and all their clothes were tattered and torn. It was Sarah Allen that got all the women together and said, we're going to sew these clothes up so they look like something up there. And they got together, and that work was the pillar and the foundation that propelled the AME church. So don't get it twisted. Just because they might not have had jobs or other opportunities back in the day, women just didn't sit down and kowtow and didn't do nothing. They were incredibly powerful. You can look at Harriet Tubman, and if you really look at her story, it ain't just, okay, I'm freed a bunch of slaves. It's a whole story of being so powerful and so determined that she can influence someone that couldn't see beyond themselves. That takes a special person. Those were women. With that being said, the essential element that's missing right now is men that got their shit together. And I say shit together emotionally, and they understand the responsibility of a woman submitting to you. The responsibility. First of all, a woman should only submit to her husband, and a husband should have something worth submitting to. And submission ain't about her following your feet, cooking your food for. That's not submission. Submission is you taking total responsibility for her well-being, protecting her emotionally, physically, sexually, and providing an environment that she can flourish in, not her worshiping your feet. When a woman is taken care of, then she can pour into you.
No question.
She can pour into you. No, I ain't saying she ain't got to work. I ain't saying she need to be barefoot and pregnant. I ain't saying that. I'm saying that your leadership and your direction and your energy and your provision is something that allows her to thrive. If you ain't doing that, you don't really understand submission. That's the main thing. You don't understand submission, much less deserve submission. Submission ain't something you get for free.
No question.
Women, you shouldn't give it to anybody willy-nilly. Only to the man that's your husband or the man that has earned it through consistency. Febury.
Yes.
I brought up the submission word.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
It's a word that doesn't bother me.
Oh,
wow, really, guys? Really? No.
Why doesn't it bother you? I'm curious.
It's not a dirty word to me. It does not. I don't see it. I don't say this the way I want to say it, y'all.
Say it the way you want to say it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in submission.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's almost an aggression, for lack of a better verbiage. I can get just about anything I want. And I mean, and if you want to kind of use the analogy, even like say sexual submission, and think about the power that's in that, but kind of take that and then bring it into, outside of the bedroom.
Sure.
The power in that. The power in, and I talked on another show I was on and helping women understand that as a queen, you have people that are in service to you, and as much as you're in service to them, but you want to put aces in their places. And when you recognize and call forth the power in someone, they in turn want to give to you that which you've given to them now. So when I look at a man, I call forth the power in him. I'm actually causing him to come unto me and serve me, just by simply recognizing and honoring the power in him.
Did the temperature just get warm?
Don't come back to me.
Don't
come back to me. I can't. Then I can.
The air, it just got hot as hell in here all of a sudden. Boy, I tell you what, amazing. Febury, tell us about your book.
Hey, my book is Would You Marry You? An Introspection, and it's pretty much what I've been talking about. I have several anecdotal stories in here, and from the anecdotal stories, it just kind of talks about the lesson. Many of the stories are my own, the things I learned along the way, actually how I became a coach, the courses and things I took. But it's really, like I said, written an anecdotal style, some comedy in there, and just really looking at and seeing myself, and then saying, from this scenario, what could I do differently? How can I see the world from a completely different lens? Not allowing my reality to actually shape me, but my thoughts about it. and how I could recreate those experiences. So I take my readers on that journey. They read the stories, and I ask them some questions about it, and they can then reshape their experiences. So I even use the experience of having been molested as a child. I was never penetrated, but I was touched and fondled and things of that nature. I even had a woman ask me to go down on her. I was 5 years old. Wow. And I talk about that experience not from victimhood at this point, but to empower someone else, but also to say, sis, I see you. I've been you. I can understand you. So there's so many times that we cry about our situations and we moan and we groan, but understand oftentimes the very things that we were running from was propelling us towards our destiny.
Well said.
And that's what I do. And would you marry you? Some people think, yeah, I would marry me. But no, would you really get in deep with you? Would you really hold yourself accountable? Would you hold your hand? Will you put up with you? Will you be vulnerable with you?
Wow.
All of those wonderful things is what I mean when I say, would you marry you, in introspection.
Well said. Now, if someone wanted to purchase the book or they wanted to get in contact with you, how would they reach you?
You can reach me on all social media platforms across the board. My name is Febury Hassan. That's Febury Hassan, Hassan. You can also reach me on wouldyoumarryu.com and also themistressproject.com.
Themistressproject.com. I'm going to have to check that out. Up in this.
If you want to know what it is, I can tell you.
We're going to talk about it off there. No, let's play. Brother Antonio, if people wanted to get in. Well, first of all, tell us what you got coming up and what's going on with you.
Working on 100 Black Fathers.
Okay, good deal.
It's an organization that I think we should have for fathers to come together to actually impact the community and to put into action these principles that we talk about as far as protecting our community, which is really our women and children.
Yes, sir.
Protecting, producing, and providing. And there are a lot of things that come with that, but that's one of the projects I'm working on. I'm also working on, I have a book that's coming out in October, Sex, Dating, and Relationships in the Age of Social Media. That is the book that's going to be out. I examine, like, I've been a part of social media now probably about 7 years.
Right.
For about 3.5 of them, I was actually doing research.
Good deal.
You know?
Good deal.
So it was like, it's not like when I do research, I don't look at it as people being in a petri dish. I actually get involved.
Got it.
I'm there. I do. You know what I'm saying? So
it's experiential.
Right. You know, and then I analyze, and then I've had receipts and so forth and so on. But sex, dating, and relationships in the age of social media at AntonioAlacena.com is my website.
Okay, good deal, good deal. And if they want to find you on social media, how can they find you?
Antonio Alacena Facebook, Antonio Alacena Twitter, Son of Man IG.
Got it. Now, we're close to the end of the show. I got one video I want to show right here. It's about My Mama Can't Cook. Now, first of all, mamas, I'm going to need you to know how to cook. Mamas, if you can't cook, you dropping the ball. You got to be able to cook something, mamas. So make sure if you can't cook, mamas, you learn how to cook something. We got enough time to play that last clip? All right, no worries. We'll play it next week. It's been an amazing show. Febury, thank you so much for coming out.
My pleasure.
Brother Antonio, thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Listen, this is Manifest TV on the Status Network. It's the future of broadcasting. I need you to follow us on social media, manifesttv.status on Instagram, IG status_network, Facebook StatusNetworkLLC, Periscope status_network_, Twitter, status_network_, and the email is manifesttv@statusnetwork.net. I am Talk with Jeffery, Jeffery, on all social media platforms except for Snapchat. I ain't snapping, I ain't chatting, I don't get it. Yeah. This has been an amazing show. Join us back here next Thursday. We're looking forward to it, but for right now, I am out. So now, you know.
Now that you know about Jeffery, and let's talk about it live, come be a part of our family.
You know we had to give y'all homework, right?
Keep up with the show. Follow us on all of our social media platforms.
That's Facebook and Instagram.
Would you like to listen to the show on the go? Make sure you download the Status Network app on your Google or Apple Play Store.
Want to talk to Jeffery?
Dial 470-251-4647. We thank you for listening. And make sure you're back here every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Let's Talk About It Live with Jeffrey L. Miller.
Status Network.